Hey everybody, Ray Janukian here, and today I'm going to cover one of the most critical points of all to becoming successful. Now, what inspired me to do this is I had recently revisited the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, where he not only covered the 13 principles most necessary to achieving wealth, he also took time to cover the 30 principles that most often lead to failure. Now, this only makes sense, right? Because if you think about it, it is no more important to know how to succeed than it is to know how to avoid failure. And with so many videos out there about how to become successful, I wanted to cover today the most primary cause of failure there is. And that is the inability to, or the unwillingness to, accept responsibility for your results. Now, I did some research on this topic and I came up with 3 primary causes that make people do this, and I'm going to share them with you today. The first cause, and in my opinion probably the least traveled path of them, is laziness. And I don't mean that to say I think people are lazy. What I really think that makes this happen is people truly don't have a purpose, or they haven't found their passion. Okay? Now, here's what I'm going to suggest for you on this one. In other words, like laziness. Let's say, have you ever known you needed to get something done and just said, I don't feel like it, or I don't want to? This again, it's from a lack of purpose or a lack of passion. Because as you get yourself on purpose, if you truly find your passion, it will inspire you. It will inspire you to get up and get things done. I mean, have you ever known anybody that was on their purpose, that was passionate about what they did, that were lazy? Heck no, man. They're out there. They're going after it. They're making things happen because they're inspired. So if this is something you're shirking off because you don't have it yet, I strongly suggest find something that will put you on your purpose. Find your passion and go after it. Because when you're passionate, it will inspire you, and when you're inspired, it will lift you to new heights that you may never have realized were even possible. This will help you find your goals and achieve your ambitions much quicker. So find something you're on purpose with and discover your true passions. This will inspire you. Okay, now, the next 2 I'm going to cover, I believe, are really the primary culprits. Okay? Now, the first one is a general lack of maturity. Example, I have 2 daughters, 9 and almost 5. And this is going to be really hard to believe, but they fight and argue. I want the same cup. I want the same toy. I want the same stuffed animal. One of them will start crying, and Lisa and I run into the room, and what's the first thing we hear? I didn't do it. Okay, she's crying. You're the only other one in the room, but you didn't do it. Listen, guys, I get this with them. Okay, it only makes sense. They're little kids, right? But isn't that really the key? They're just little kids. Sooner or later, you have to make a conscious decision to grow up, right? Now, that being said, you know, for adults, it's usually not, I didn't do it, or it's not my fault. It kind of turns into, that's not my job, or that's not my responsibility, right? But again, it's the same lack of maturity, and that usually indicates that you're lacking in personal growth and personal development, but I'll get back to that in a little bit. The third one, too much self-focus. These are the people who are in constant need of praise and acceptance from everybody. They always need to be acknowledged for their doings. Now, these people aren't going to be able to take responsibility for their actions or their results when things go wrong. Why? Exactly right. Because then it'll make them look bad. They won't get the praise. And, you know, listen, when this happens, people typically will start to point fingers and place blame on others. Please hear me on this, guys. You know, when you're trying to become successful, picture yourself in a car driving down the road to success. The second you point fingers and start placing blame, what you've done is you've slammed on the brakes, and in some cases even put that car into reverse. And again, there are 2 things that can cause this. A, general lack of laziness, or a general lack of immaturity, which goes back to your personal growth. And then B, this one can be a little bit trickier, because this one can really be deep-seated within inside of you. Maybe things were a little bit rough when you grew up. Maybe your parents were a little bit too tough on you and really ridiculed you when you made a mistake. Or maybe even once you became an adult, you had a boss that was overly critical and just constantly beat you up mentally, always was very negative with you, okay? So now you're seeking that praise and you're seeking those acknowledgments for a job well done to help you cope with these things. Again, this is too much self-focus, and that is also very dangerous. Okay, now the problem with that is we're not really addressing the problem when we need accolades and praise. Why is this? Because, as you need praise to really overcome something that went wrong, you're just putting a band-aid on a problem. You're putting a band-aid on a cut that probably needs 20 or 30 stitches. That's all the praise really does. It kind of temporarily heals the wound. Okay, now with that being said, we've covered the problems. Now let's go ahead and start looking at some of the cures to these problems. Now, what you really want to do is, especially with the accolades and the praise, the first thing you have to do in order to correct this is you need to come to the realization that you're doing it, that it's even happening to you in the first place. You have to be able to accept that. Once you do, now, through personal growth and personal development, you can grow. You can start to gain maturity. You can grow past this, and you can start to heal and fix that problem through personal growth and personal development. But it starts with you taking responsibility and coming to the realization that you are actually doing it. Now, with this one, for the accolades, here's the strongest way to really fix any of these problems in order to make it easier to accept responsibility. Here's what you do. Separate yourself from the outcome. Whenever you're about to implement a new strategy, when you're going to put any new component into your business or your life, no matter what it is, give that function some meaning and some purpose. Give it a meaning and give it purpose. This will allow you to separate yourself from the outcome. All right, we have to realize that we're human beings. We are not events. We are not strategies. If the strategy fails, that doesn't mean we failed. That means the strategy failed. And the best way to do this is to create separation from yourself and the outcome. Take this video, for example. This is a perfect example. Now, I have given this video purpose, and I have given it meaning. Well, what is its purpose? Its purpose is to educate you, to teach you about this valuable success topic of taking responsibility. Now, if the video fails, I'm not a failure. Now that I've separated myself from it, it will allow me to look at the outcome, learn from it, and take it on in a different manner in order to help give you this value. And I can really back all of this up. If you look on this YouTube channel, this very YouTube channel that this video is on, you will see another video all about taking responsibility. Well, why would I make another one? Because I missed it on the first one. I was able to go back as I separated myself and I looked at it. I made some good points, which is why the video is still here. There is some good bullet points on the video. But I did not cover what causes the lack of responsibility, nor did I tell you how to correct the problem. So I missed the boat. It was a failed video. But since I don't have to take it personally, it wasn't me, it was the video, I was able to learn from it and come back at it from a different approach. No different than I will here. How will I know if this succeeded or failed? By the comments you leave on the video. That will tell me if it was a success or a failure. And if it misses, again, all I'm going to do is go back to the drawing board and try it from a different manner. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, Ray, separating myself from the outcome, isn't that shirking responsibility? Absolutely not. That is where you will find the power to take responsibility, because you have separated yourself from the outcome, so you don't have to take anything like this personally. That is where the power will lie, and that is how you can start taking responsibility. Okay, now see, I used to be in that position myself. Years ago, I had a job where I worked for a boss that he was just miserable. He was of the opinion that a mad worker was a hard worker, so he was walking around making people miserable all day long. And that's when I actually found myself doing it. I fell into the trap. I started pointing fingers. I started placing blame. Even when I knew darn well some of the stuff that was going wrong really was my fault. And I wasn't doing this to try to get his praise. That simply never would happen. I was just simply trying to escape the absolute misery he laid on people on a daily basis. And I didn't even realize I was doing it until a couple of years later, when I had moved on to a better position in a better company. That was when I realized what had happened and what I was doing. And I knew at that point I had to get my whole growth process started again, that I had to plug into some positive stuff and really allow myself to heal mentally and get past all of that and get healthy again. This isn't even our primary business. Our primary business is personal development and personal growth. That's why I say we're very fortunate, because we are actually submersed in the answer to so many of these questions. So many of these little situations that hurt people, we're submersed in the answer to really the solution in all of these. So with that really being said, guys, here's what it is. Find your purpose. Find your passion. take the realization that this may be happening and start taking responsibility for your actions. Because once you find your passion and you allow that type of growth to happen around you, oh guys, you're living in a whole new world. And I'll tell you, the people out there, they're looking for leaders. Leaders do not point fingers. Leaders do not place blame. Leaders take responsibility and leaders give praise. That is what people are truly looking for. So, with that being said, again, assign value to something, find your purpose and your passion, because then when you start to grow, your life and your business will soar to heights you may never have dreamed possible. All right, guys, again, this is Ray Janukian saying go out there, make it a great day and a better tomorrow because you deserve it.